Faithful, Niner Empire. What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. Always a pleasure and an honor to be on with the best fans in the NFL, the faithful, the Niner Empire. How's everyone doing out today on a Sunday morning? It's game day. 49ers and Panthers will kick off 105 today in enemy territory. In enemy territory for your San Francisco 49ers. We will be in Charlotte, North Carolina on the first of 2-week road games so far this season. And speaking of North Carolina, let's take a look at the weather. The forecast for your game today, it's going to be perfect football weather, high 60s, not a chance of rain. So that's a plus. I don't have to worry about the weather conditions for this game today. And I think that will definitely bode well for both teams. I'll say that for sure. Feel free. Huge shout out to everyone watching Jay in the Bay Facebook, Jay in the Bay YouTube, and Jay in the Bay Twitter. I appreciate everyone rocking out with me this morning on the 49ers pre-game show. And this is an interactive show. Feel free to leave your thoughts in them comments. And I'm looking forward to this game. I think the Carolina Panthers are 1-3. The 49ers are 2-2 right now. The Panthers have yet to hit their stride so far. They're a team led by Baker Mayfield, and he's not playing his best so far, to say the least. I'll definitely get into the stats and why I feel that way and what the stats show as far as Baker Mayfield. But the Carolina Panthers, they are a talented team. They do have weapons. They got Christian McCaffrey, probably their best offensive weapon. They've got some wide receivers who can definitely catch the ball and put up numbers. But Baker has had a difficult time in getting them the ball on a consistent basis. Also, this defensive line is solid. The big standout from the Panthers defensive line is Brian Burns. He can definitely get after the quarterback. Now, the Panthers, they are at the bottom of the league when it comes to sacks. I think they only have 4 sacks on the season so far. So, Nick Bosa, he's got more sacks by himself. So, the Panthers, they haven't been able to get a good pressure rate versus the Niners, just for the first 4 games. But that will be something to monitor because we know we have injuries on our offensive line. So that'll be an interesting matchup. But I think the 49ers are clearly the better team, for this matchup. And as I said before, this is an interactive show. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Give me 1 second. Just had to make a slight adjustment, but feel free to hit that thumbs up button if you guys and gals are ready for some 49er football. I think last week obviously was a big win against the LA Rams, but we have to continue that this week against the Carolina Panthers because we're clearly better than the Carolina Panthers, that's for sure. We got to get into first who's in and who's out. There was a tweet about 2 minutes ago from Matt Mayoko about who's in and who's out, and I will definitely put that up on the screen right now so you guys can see who's in and who's out for the Niner Empire. Let's get that up on the screen. All right, here we go. I think no surprise here. Defensive lineman Eric Armstead, he's been battling the plantar fasciitis. And now he's also has an ankle injury. So the man is just banged up. He's going to be dealing with that plantar fasciitis for, I would say, easily, the rest of the season. The only way you get over that injury, you got to rest it. You have to rest it. And Kyle Shanahan did say that Eric Armstead was a candidate for IR. So it's going to be really a pain tolerance thing for Eric Armstead. It's unfortunate because last year he played well, and the year before that he played pretty good as well. So it's unfortunate. Injuries are not really – sometimes some guys get more injured than others. And if you look at Eric Armstead's game log, he's been relatively healthy for the majority of his career up until this season. So I think we will see Eric Armstead on the injury report pretty much every week of the season. Sometimes he'll practice, sometimes he won't. For instance, last week Armstead did play, I think, the first 3 quarters, and then he sat out the last quarter. So I think we're going to continue to see that. TDP has the high ankle sprain. He's going to be out for several weeks. We'll talk about Javon Kinlaw last. Tyler Croft, he's got the knee issue. I think he has the MCL sprain, so he's going to be out multiple weeks. Same with Colton McKivitz. He's going to be out multiple weeks. Trent Williams, same there with the ankle issue, out multiple weeks. Tavarius Moore, he's dealing with the hamstring injury, and I'm not sure if he's going to be out multiple weeks, but he did not practice all week, I don't believe. So that's going to be a week-to-week issue. Now, we go to defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw. I thought, he had issues with his knees coming out of college, and the 49ers still decided to draft him, in the first round. And I think that's a questionable decision. And some would say that I think it's safe to say that, it's tough to say that Javon Kinlaw will live up to his potential as a first-round draft pick and replacing DeForest Buckner. I mean, that's a tall hill to climb, even if you're 100% healthy, because we know what DeForest Buckner can do. But yeah, Javon Kinlaw is very unfortunate. He's got the knee issue. He had the procedure last year on his knee, and he came into camp. He was motivated. He was in the best shape of his life, but it's his body, and it's honestly, it's not his fault. It's he puts in the work, but unfortunately, he's got the knee issue, and I think he has fluid that builds up in the knee, and I think he's going to be on the injury report probably for the rest of the year. It's just a injury that the 49ers are going to have to manage. And it just sucks because he puts in the work, but his body just won't allow him to play. And that's that. But these are the players who will not play in week 5. Also, one other player that won't play is running back Marlon Mack. So running back Marlon Mack is inactive. So your running backs today will be Jeff Wilson Jr., it will be Jordan Mason, and probably Tevin Coleman. I think those will be the 3 running backs. And, of course, you got Deebo Samuel. But that's who's in, who's out. Any surprises there? Is anyone surprised that Marlon Mack was inactive? I was a little surprised. We got Redder in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in to the stream today, Redder. He says the Steelers are losing 31-3 to the Bills. Man, that sucks, man. Hey, the Bills are they riding high, Hey, sometimes a team is just better than you, man. That sucks though. We got David McNew in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in to the stream today. I know you are excited. I know you are geeked up for some 49er football with a 1:05 p.m. kickoff. David McNew says, "What's good, Jay? Jimmy Ward is back." Exactly, and that was one thing I definitely wanted to touch on: the return of Jimmy Ward. He is one of the longest tenured 49ers on this team. He was here when Harbaugh was here. I'm trying to think, are there any players on the team now who were here when Harbaugh was here? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. That was so long ago, but Jimmy Ward was a draft pick of that regime, and he was playing corner, he was playing safety. I think he's finally found his role as a safety on this defense, and he had the hamstring injury. He had the hamstring injury that happened at the back end of training camp, and he did not play in any preseason games. And now Jimmy Ward is returning back to this defense. And some would say, hey, Tayshaun Gibson, he filled in well. Tayshaun Gibson has been a Pro Bowler a few years ago, I think with Jacksonville and with Chicago. And this defense did not suffer because Jimmy Ward was not in the game. Now, some may say maybe week 1 against Chicago, maybe. But this defense is playing at a historic level, and I think we can only get better with the addition of Jimmy Ward. Now, Jimmy Ward will not start. I don't think he's going to start, and I don't think he's going to play. Well, he could start, but I don't think he's going to play, all the reps at the safety spot on defense today. Maybe he'll play, if there's 40 defensive snaps, maybe he'll play 15 to 20 or 15 to 25 snaps. I think this is a good way to slowly bring in Jimmy Ward to the fold. You don't want to just, we don't really need him to go out there and play 100% of the snaps. It's not a playoff game. This isn't the Super Bowl. So I think it's smart that the Shanahan and Lynch, they're just easing Jimmy Ward in. But yeah, I mean, you pair up Jimmy Ward and Talanoa Hufanga. I mean, that's an excellent pairing. I guess Jimmy Ward was on to something in training camp when he said, hey, Jimmy Ward and Talanoa Hufanga, we're going to be the best safety tandem, in the league. So, hey, Jimmy Ward was on to something. I do have a question for the faithful, the Niner Empire. Today is George Kittle's birthday. Happy birthday to George Kittle. He turns 29 today. And I think George Kittle had, what did he have, like 4 catches last week? So that's my question for the faithful. Will George Kittle have over 5 catches in today's game? I would love to hear your thoughts on that, faithful. Will George Kittle have over 5 catches in today's game? Feel free. I would love to hear your input on that. Let me know in them comments. Will George Kittle have over 5 catches in today's game? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. And let's continue on with these comments. Let's see. We got David V in the building. What's good? Appreciate you coming through to the stream, David V. Hope all is well. Damian Lee, what's good? Damian Lee says, what's up, Niner family? JR Meadows, can you still hear me, JR? Does everyone else hear me? Looks like I'm all clear on my end. Let's see. David V says, oh, okay. It's all good now. Okay. Appreciate you letting me know that, JR, though. I appreciate you letting me know that. Looks like Damian Lee offers up his prediction for the 49ers and Panthers game. He's got the 49ers winning 23-12. All right. Okay. Hey, I can see that coming to fruition. JR Meadows gives us his 49er prediction. He's got the Niners beating the brakes off them good old Carolina Panthers 33-3. Hey, I can definitely see that coming to fruition. And my Niner fans, or excuse me, the Niner community, they love to pontificate on things like this. And I think this shows right here. I mean, 33-3, that's a straight shellacking. I think the 49ers could win a game like this. We just have to come with the right attitude. And we just have to not look at the Carolina Panthers record. Granted, they are playing at home, but just look at them as another team on the schedule that you got to beat down. And I just don't see how the Panthers are going to move the ball. We will talk about Baker Mayfield in a little bit, and his stats so far this season. And it'll be interesting to see if he can move the ball on this 49ers, this historic 49ers defense. David V says, Tevin Coleman going to run wild again. That's pretty good, David. I mean, hey, he's one of the active running backs. I mean, outside of Deebo Samuel, obviously Jeff Wilson Jr., all reliable. He gonna start. He's going to get his carries. Outside of Jeff Wilson Jr., then you have, you got Tevin Coleman, and then you got Jordan Mason. Those are basically the 3 running backs. Marlon Mack is inactive for today's game. Don't know why, but I guess, hey, I know Jordan Mason. Shanahan likes to use Jordan Mason on special teams. I mean, Jordan Mason has basically been he's been active every game, I believe, but he's basically only been used for special teams. He got 1 carry against the Seattle Seahawks for 7 yards. Will we see a Jordan Mason sighting? I think it's possible if there's a blowout. Like if it's the start of the 4th quarter, the Niners are up 27-3, then yeah, go ahead and put Jordan Mason in. I don't see why not. But I would be surprised to see Jordan Mason get carries before Tevin Coleman, though. I would definitely be surprised by that. J.R. Meadows says Kinlaw not it. Let's go Drake. Well, I mean, hey, those guys do play two different positions. I mean, Javon Kinlaw is going to be lined up inside at the defensive tackle spot. Drake is more of your edge rusher. He's going to be lined up on, up against the offensive tackle, while Javon Kinlaw will be lined up against a guard. So, but it's just unfortunate for Kinlaw because he put in the work. He was in the best shape of his life this offseason, and, it just didn't work out for him. He's got the knee issues again, and supposedly he has arthritic knee issues. So it's just something that's going to continue. It's not going to go away. So it's very unfortunate, very unfortunate. And I don't blame Kinlaw. I don't blame Kinlaw at all. It's not really his fault. Now, you could question the 49ers' decision to draft him with the first round pick, knowing that he had these potential knee issues, So if you want to blame somebody, you blame the 49ers. We got Kelts Chronicles in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in to the stream today, Kelts. Hope all is well. He is a 1/4 of the Straight Out of the Bay YouTube, and we should be broadcasting tomorrow. That's Straight Out of the Bay right after the Monday night game. It'll be myself, Kelts Chronicles, Amin the Dream, and Bay Area Baller 18. Not sure which channel will be posted on, but you'll definitely, if you follow me, you subscribe to me, I'll definitely let you guys know tomorrow. That's for sure. Kelts Chronicles is providing us with an update for the game. He says both Panthers safeties are out. I know Shanahan has his system and Jimmy has limitations, but any good coach would test and attack weaknesses. What are the chances we see the Ayuk show with the deep ball? I'm not going to hold my breath. And the reason I say that is I think it is important to attack a team's weakness for sure. But I think one of those weaknesses is this run defense for your Carolina Panthers. They average, I think, the 8th most rushing yards allowed so far on defense. They've allowed 134 yards on average per game, and they've also allowed, I believe, 4.1 yards per carry. So that's a lot. I think Shanahan would take that every time. If he knew he could run the ball, get at least 4 yards every down or every snap, he'll take that. And you compare that to the 49ers defense, we only allow 2.9 yards per carry. So that's a huge difference. But, hey, it's nice to dream, though, Kelts. I would love to see Jimmy look to the left and Jimmy look to the right and throw deep. But I'm just not going to expect it. I'm expecting him to throw some horizontal passes. I'm going to expect Jimmy G to possibly throw an interception. And I'm going to expect Jimmy G to our big plays on this offense is throw it behind the line of scrimmage to Debo, and he break 50-11 tackles. That's our explosive plays for the 49ers. And that's just kind of what it is. And with this historic defense, we really don't need to take chances. I'm sure this is how Kyle Shanahan thinks, because we know he's a conservative coach. But yeah, I just if it happens, I'll be surprised. But if it's a complete pass and Ayuk takes it to the end zone, hey, I'll be happy just as you are, Kelts. And J.R. Meadows agrees with you, Kelts. For those that just tuned in, how many catches will George Kittle have? You think over or under 5 catches in today's game? It is George Kittle's birthday. Maybe maybe Jimmy G will look for him, maybe to give him a birthday touchdown. Who knows, man? Let's see. J.R. Meadows says Kittle will have an 80-yard receiving day. I'm down with that, man. I would love to see that. We need to use George Kittle more. I know we like to use him in blocking situations in the run game and passing game, but he can be just as productive as a Travis Kelce, as a Mark Andrews, as a Darren Waller. But the 49ers don't use him that way. I mean, George Kittle was not targeted last week in the first half. Like, have you ever seen Pat Mahomes not target Travis Kelce in a half? Like, that's just, that you just don't see that. Tisha Edmonds, what's good? Appreciate you coming into the stream today, Tisha. Yeah, we just went over the inactive and active list. I'll go ahead and bring that up again. This is the inactive list for your San Francisco 49ers. And unfortunately, all of these gentlemen do have long-term injuries. What I think Williams. So let's go first through the guys who are on IR. That would be TDP, Croft, McKivitz, and I think those are your three guys on IR. They're going to be out multiple weeks. Now, Armstead, it's going to be a weekly thing with him. He's got the plantar fasciitis in his foot. He's also got an ankle on his other leg. So that's going to be a week-to-week thing. And Shanahan did mention that Armstead could be a IR candidate, but we'll see what happens in the future. Kinlaw is going to be week-to-week. He's got the reoccurring knee issue. It could be arthritic, but it's going to be a week-to-week thing. Tavarius Moore's got the hamstring injury. Those hamstrings can be pretty tricky. We saw Jimmy Ward miss the first 4 weeks of the season, and I'm trying to remember when was the last time he practiced, because I know he didn't play in any preseason games. I think he got hurt right before. It might have been like the last week of training camp, or maybe no, it was the last week of the preseason. I think Jimmy Ward got hurt, but those hamstrings can be tricky, and with the play of Talanoa Hufanga, we don't necessarily need Tavarius Moore, even though he is pretty good on special teams. But I think Tavarius Moore will just wait till he comes back and he gets fully healthy. But that's the inactive list for your San Francisco 49ers. Now, for the Carolina Panthers, let's see. I have the Let me pull that up real quick for the Carolina Panthers. So here's the injury list for the Carolina Panthers. So they have a wide receiver, Chenault. He's dealing with the hamstring. He'll be out. Cornerback Stanley Thomas Oliver will be out. Xavier Woods, he is questionable. Tight end Sullivan is out with a back issue. I'm not sure about Xavier Woods, the safety. I'm trying to get an updated inactive report for the Panthers. Let's see if I can see something on Twitter that pops up, because I see the 49ers inactive, but I don't see the Carolina Panthers inactive list. And there's also they have some linebacker, Frankie Louva. He's got the shoulder issue. I believe he's their leading tackler. So if he doesn't play, that could be so 35 minutes ago, looks like the Panthers did have their inactive list. So it's going to be Frankie Louva and Xavier Woods. So that's a pretty big deal, because Frankie, I believe he's their leading tackler. Xavier Woods is one of the safeties. So that's a huge deal for the Carolina Panthers. Those are two of their best players. So also, Rashard Higgins won't play as well. Every team's got to deal with injuries. I know as 49er fans, sometimes we feel that, hey, the injuries only happen to our team, but it's literally every team. I mean, this is a physical sport. This is, you're paid to go out there and hit someone hard, and injuries are gonna happen. So Panthers are going to miss some guys, their best tackler, few of their receivers, and also, their starting safety. So we got injuries and they got injuries as well. But I appreciate the question, though, Tisha. David V offers up his prediction for the game today in Carolina. He's got the Niners winning 27-6. All right. We got Libby's World in the building. What's good? Libby's World says, yes, we hear you, Jay. What's good? Jimmy looks to the left and he looks to the right. And touchdown Niners. Let's go Faithful. All right. I love to hear that, Libby's World. I'd rather hear that than an interception over the middle. David V says Ryan's going to blitz 8 to 11 times, 7 sacks at least. Yeah. And that's one thing that I think is a little bit different from Robert Saleh. And I think he was a hell of a defensive coordinator when he was here. But DeMeco Ryans, he's actually going to blitz. Now, granted, I think Robert Saleh didn't have the secondary, that D'Amico Ryans has now. But yeah, D'Amico Ryans is blitzing absolutely, and we're definitely getting pressure. And yeah, if we can get 4 to 5 sacks and pressure Baker Mayfield a lot, I think they won't be able to move the ball at all. No problem, Tisha. We got Monty Williams in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in today, Monty. All right, so for those that haven't answered the question yet, will George Kittle have over 5 catches in today's game? Let's get it. We got some responses. David V says Kittle will have 7 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Man, that would be an incredible game. I wonder when was the last time George Kittle had a 2-touchdown game? I don't remember. It's been quite a while. It's been quite a while, man. Monty says over 5 catches for George Kittle. All right. Damian Lee says Kittle will have 6 catches, 58 yards. Okay. Damian Lee, hey, that's wise thinking right there, Damian. We need Kittle for blocking until Trent comes back. I mean, honestly, though, when Trent's even there, we still use Kittle for blocking. But Kittle is so prolific, not only in the pass blocking game, but in the run game as well. The tenacity he brings, and he's just amazing. He's an amazing blocker. I just wish we would use him more as, a receiver, because he is a mismatch nightmare out there. Not a lot of teams can guard him. Damian Lee says, I want a sack for every bad Baker commercial. That's funny. I don't think Baker's going to have any more commercials, man. Those commercials were when he was with the Cleveland Browns, but I get your point, though, man. That's pretty good. Because, yeah, there's no doubt last year, the year before that, yeah, it was like every other commercial. Baker Mayfield in the stadium. And we won't have to worry about seeing none of those. That's for sure. But I appreciate everyone who gave some thoughts on that question about George Kittle. We talked about who's in and out so far. We talked about the return of Jimmy Ward. So yeah, let's get into some latest news. So Jimmy Ward's obviously been activated to the active roster after missing the first 4 games with that hamstring injury. Also activated from the practice squad is Malik Turner. He plays wide receiver. I don't expect to see Malik Turner on any offensive sets, but he will be on special team. He'll be used as a gunner, and he has played a few games so far this year in that special teams role. Tevin Coleman. Did you guys miss Tevin Coleman? Oops, I accidentally spelled his name wrong. Hold on one second. Tevin Coleman is back with the San Francisco 49ers. We know that Shanahan loves his vets, man. He likes to play guys who there could be another talented person behind Coleman. Like I'm sure we all think that Jordan Mason is more talented than Tevin Coleman, and we like what we saw from Jordan Mason, but Shanahan loves he loves that he can trust someone based on what they've done prior. So he already trusts Tevin Coleman. He knows that Tevin Coleman can't run a 4.2 40. He knows that, but that doesn't matter. He knows that Tevin Coleman knows the offense. He knows what to do when he doesn't have the ball. He knows how to pass block, and that's what Kyle Shanahan values. And that's why I think Tevin Coleman is back on this team. Do I think he'll rush for 1,000 yards this year? No, but he's a guy who knows the system, and Shanahan trusts him, and that's how Shanahan operates. So that's why Tevin Coleman is active. He's up on game day today. And I don't think he's gotten any carries yet. I think last week was the first week he was active for game day. But, hey, there's a possibility, especially if there's a blowout. If we're up multiple touchdowns in the fourth quarter and Jeff Wilson Jr. has already gotten, 12 to 15 carries, why continue to put carries on Jeff Wilson Jr.? Why do that when you got Tevin Coleman, you got Jordan Mason? I would love to see Jordan Mason. I'll keep saying it every week. I want to see him get some run. We know what Coleman can do, but, it's up to Shanahan, and he's only going to put guys in there who he trusts. So Some other latest news, Colton McKivitz, the backup left tackle to Trent Williams, unfortunately, he suffered a MCL sprain in last week's game. So he's already been added to the IR list. So he's going to be out at least the next 4 weeks. He's got the MCL sprain. So now we have a third string left tackle in Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore, I thought he played solid last week when he came in for Colton McKivitz, but how is he going to play against possibly Brian Burns? Now, Burns is athletic. He's edgy. He's got good dip in his pass rush. He is a young, athletic guy. I think he's a former first-round pick. How is Jalen Moore going to block Brian Burns? Now, granted, the Panthers, they only have like 4 sacks so far this season. Let me double check Brian Burns' sacks so far. But he's definitely had pretty good numbers in the NFL so far. And Brian Burns, 6'5", 250. Right now, he's got 3 sacks. So I'm sure he leads the team in sacks so far. Got 5 quarterback hits. So last week, Brian Burns versus the Arizona Cardinals, the Panthers lost that game. He did have 1 sack. He had he had 7 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss. So he's very active. There's no doubt about that. He's very active. He played 89% of the defensive snaps. So that's going to be a matchup to watch for sure. Jalen Moore versus Brian Burns, because that could be an issue if we can't protect Jimmy's blind side. That's for sure. Let's see. We got Niner Sickness Podcast in the building. What's good? Appreciate you coming into the stream today, Niner Sickness. I know you are geeked up for some 49er football, man. Appreciate you coming in today. We got Sacrifice TV Sports. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in, man. He says, good luck to the Niners this game. Appreciate that. My Carolina boy's been terrible the last couple of years under Matt Rule. The whole organization needs to make changes fast. Yeah, he's been a disappointment ever since the Panthers signed him. They gave him a lot of money. I think he did pretty well in college, and they thought he could replicate that with the Panthers. But I don't think the Panthers have been a playoff team under Matt Rule, and it looks like that's going to continue this year. He hasn't really been able to develop a quarterback, and it shows. But the Panthers, they got talent. The Panthers have talent on both sides of the ball, but they just haven't been able to put it together. Monty Williams says today will be our first 30-point game, 31-10. He's got the Niners winning. All right, hey, I respect that. I could definitely see that. But let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. Who are the Carolina Panthers and what do they do well? Well, I'll tell you this. The Carolina Panthers, they want to run the ball. They have a pretty good running back in Christian McCaffrey, especially when he's healthy. I mean, let's be real. He's been one of the best running backs in the NFL when he's been healthy. But you need more than a running back to have a successful franchise. You need a quarterback. And so far, let me give you some stats about this Carolina Panthers offense. Out of all 32 NFL teams, the Carolina Panthers are last in total yards per game. They only have 262 yards per game. That's on offense. They have the 3rd worst passing yards per game with only 166 passing yards. That's terrible. They have the 9th worst rushing yards per game with only 96 yards per game. Baker Mayfield has the 3rd worst QBR in the NFL. He's only ahead of Mitch Trubisky, who just got benched by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Justin Fields. So he's been terrible this year. Baker Mayfield has been terrible. He's only completing about 54% of his passes. That's just not going to get it done. And like I said before, the Panthers, they have what's his face? The Panthers have pretty good wide receivers. For some reason, their names are escaping me. Let me look them up real quick. But they got some pretty good wide receivers, but they got DJ Moore, they got Robbie Anderson, Terrence Marshall Jr. So they got pretty good wide receivers, but Baker's hasn't been able to get them the ball consistently, and that's really been an issue for them. The Panthers' 3rd down conversion rate on offense is only 25%. That's terrible. That's terrible. That's not going to. That's the definition of not extending drives. So you're not going to be able to have extended drives if you don't convert on 3rd down. So This is what they've done in the first 4 games of the season. Now they have to play against a historic elite 49ers defense. I don't think those numbers are going to get much better today. and I know the Panthers are home. Hey, they get paid too. They put their shoulder pads on and they pants the same way the Niners do. But I just don't see much changing unless this Niners team just feels like, oh, all we have to do is show up and we'll win, which I don't think that's how they feel. I don't know. But I don't think that they shouldn't feel that way. That's for sure. And that's not what Kyle Shanahan preaches. So if the Niners come into this game and they think they could just show up and win, then yeah, the Panthers could possibly beat us. But this 49ers defense, I think we'll get a defensive touchdown as well in this game. I think that we will get pressure on Baker and he will throw an interception. Sacrifice TV Sports says red zone offense is terrible as well, bro. Yeah. So, I think the 49ers are clearly, better than this Panthers team. And I think that'll show on the field today. And this Panthers defense, they will be missing some key guys. Their middle linebacker, I think his first name is Frank. He will be out in this game due to a shoulder injury. And I believe he leads that team in tackles. The Panthers D, as I mentioned before, they only have 4 sacks so far on the season. They've allowed 21 points per game. That's 14. So that's not terrible. But here's the one aspect of the game that the 49ers will exploit. And it's the running game. The Panthers allow 134 yards per game. That's the 8th worst run defense in the NFL. And what do the 49ers want to do? The 49ers want to run the ball. And that's definitely what they'll do against this Panthers front. And I could easily see over 30 carries in this game. Hopefully we'll see a Jordan Mason sighting. And the Panthers also allow 4.1 yards per carry. So I think Shanahan will take that on any day of the week. We can get 4 yards per carry. And yeah, I think this is going to be a fairly easy game if the 49ers come in with the right attitude and they take care of business. I have a question for the faithful, the Niner Empire. I haven't even mentioned yet Deebo Samuel. Deebo. Oh, Deebo. Oh. Last week, Deebo Samuel only had 2 carries in the game versus the LA Rams. Will that continue? Do you think that trend will continue of Deebo Samuel? Let's say he'll have less than 4 carries. You think Deebo Samuel will have less than 4 carries in this game versus the Panthers? I think this is a game where you don't need Deebo to run the ball. I think we should continue that trend. I mean, if you want to throw screens to him or if he runs a reverse where he's taking on corners, I would much rather him do that than take on defensive tackles and middle linebackers. But I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in them comments. Will Deebo have less than 4 carries in today's game? And last week he only had 2 carries. And I think we should just use more of Jeff Wilson Jr. Hopefully we see a Jordan Mason sighting. And but we're probably going to see Tevin Coleman on. Pretty sure we'll probably see Tevin Coleman. One of Shanahan's guys, Tommy Huxley. What's good? Man, you missed my spiel about Tevin Coleman, man. Like we know Tevin Coleman, he's not fleet of foot. He ain't running no 4.240, but Shanahan trusts him. That goes a long way in Shanahan's book. He trusts you. Hey, he trusted Tom Compton last year at right tackle, and he filled in admirably when McGlinchey went out. But there are certain guys that Shanahan trusts, and Jordan Mason. He gave Jordan Mason 1 carry. Hopefully Jordan Mason will get more than 1 carry. If I had to bet, I would say Jordan Mason will at least get more than 1 carry in today's game, because I think if it goes the way I think it'll go, you don't need to have you don't need to have Jeff Wilson Jr. running the ball in the 4th quarter. You won't need to have Deebo Samuel running the ball. But We'll probably see Tevin Coleman, and hopefully we'll see something about Jordan Mason. You said Tevin Coleman is not good? What are you talking about, Tommy? What do you mean? Tommy says Panthers will stack the box, then you can exploit the safeties. Hey, that's an astute observation. Kels Chronicles talked about that earlier because the Panthers safeties, I think both of their starting safeties are out in today's game. But, I think throwing deep is taking it's a less percentage. It's not a high percentage throw. I'll say that. It's more of a high risk throw to throw the ball deep. And I'm sure with Shanahan, he wants to eliminate those high risk plays. And especially with this elite defense, it's almost like, hey, just don't throw the game away, Jimmy. That's basically what it comes down to. Just don't throw the game away, Jimmy. And I think that's what that comes down to. So I would be surprised if we throw deep. Would I like to see it? Sure. I'm not a huge fan of the horizontal offense. I know, hey, that's what Shanahan is comfortable with Jimmy. It seems like that's what Jimmy's comfortable with. It's not super exciting unless, Deebo Samuel breaks 50-11 tackles like he did last week against the Rams. Now, that's exciting, but we just don't throw the ball deep. But we'll see what happens. But I think the Panthers defense will have the same game plan that every defense will have facing the Niners. Stack the box, try to slow down the run, and make Jimmy beat you. That's what every defense does. So we haven't really thrown deep so far with Jimmy, except for the Seattle game when he threw deep. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens, Tommy. But yeah, I think Deebo Samuel, as far as his carries in today's game, I think Deebo will have. I think hopefully he'll have less than 4. And these are carries where he goes up the middle, or he runs the toss and he goes up the middle. I don't mind if he does the screen passes or the end arounds and things like that. But yeah, hopefully we don't see Deebo. I mean, we don't need Deebo. Really? Do we really need Deebo to run against the Panthers? I mean, come on. David McNew says, I don't want to see Deebo carry the ball once, less than 4. I feel you. I mean, we gotta save those opportunities. We don't need Deebo to run the ball more than 4 times, man. We don't need that. Monty Williams weighs in as well. He says Deebo will have less than 4 carries. All right. And Tommy says, no, I heard Jay. Damian Lee, DL coming through. He says we should have kept JaMycal Hasty. It's funny because at least the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, at least we used JaMycal Hasty. He was our third down back. And I guess for whatever reason, he didn't live up to expectations in training camp and preseason. I mean, he looked fine to me. He looked like JaMycal Hasty. But, you keep Jordan Mason. Also, I guess you could say JaMycal Hasty was on the outside looking in when the 49ers drafted TDP this year. I guess you could say that. It definitely was a crowded running back room, but at least JaMycal Hasty was getting used. As a third down back, he was getting carries. We don't even use Jordan Mason. So eventually we'll see Jordan Mason. It's just not a matter of if, it's just when at this point. Oh, that's another name that I wanted to talk about. Damian Lee, thank you for reminding me. But he says, I think it's Danny Gray time. He says Kyle needs to let him out the doghouse. I don't know if it's the doghouse. I don't know if it's the Brandon Ayuk situation from last year, or is it just – I mean, I find it hard to believe that Shanahan can't figure out a way to get track speed, to get a player who has track speed, to get him to have production. I just find it hard to believe that Kyle Shanahan, they say he's a genius, right? I just have a hard time believing that he can't figure out a way to get him the ball. So maybe you are right. Maybe that would make sense. Maybe he is in the doghouse. Maybe, I don't know. Now, Danny Gray was dealing with the hip issue, but I think he's only missed – how many games has Danny Gray played? He didn't play against Chicago. Danny Gray did not play against Chicago. He was inactive. And some would say for the weather. Okay. Against Seattle, I think he played against Seattle, but I don't think he got any catches. Against the Rams, I don't think he played either. Against Denver, I don't remember seeing him out there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see why they're not using Danny Gray. If they want to say, well, it's the hip issue, then okay. If he's hurt, he's hurt. He can't really perform. But I'm gonna look up Danny Gray. I don't think he's. Let's see. Yeah, he hasn't caught a pass for the 49ers this year. Like, he hasn't caught a pass. So I hope you're right, Damien. I hope you're right. But he has not caught a pass yet for the 49ers. Hopefully that changes. Okay, he was targeted twice versus the Seahawks. And I think that was one pass that Jimmy threw deep, but they didn't connect. But he's only been targeted twice. He's only played basically in one game so far this year. So he is active today, as you said, Damian Lee. He's active, and hopefully the 49ers, use him, man. And you don't have to throw necessarily deep. Throw a quick screen. Do an end around. The same way you use Debo on those end arounds, those quick screens. You could use Danny Gray like that. Why not, man? Exactly, D. David says, Jay, that's right. Jimmy G has one job. Don't screw up. I think with this elite defense, that's kind of like how it has to be. And that's part of the reason why, maybe Shanahan doesn't want Jimmy to throw deep. You got this historic defense, and throwing deep isn't a high percentage throw for Jimmy Garoppolo. For other quarterbacks, it might be. It's just like Steph Curry. He shoots the three. For him, that's a high percentage shot. For other people, that's not. And that's kind of like how Jimmy G is. Jimmy G, his horizontal throws, within 10 to 15 yards of the line of scrimmage, that's his high percentage throw. But him throwing deep is not. So, definitely don't want to throw any INTs. You don't want to keep this team, in the game. Damon Lee says, Danny Gray had a quarterback similar to Jimmy at SMU. Look at his highlights. I would have to check that out. But I'm sure that quarterback and that head coach had confidence in the quarterback's ability to get the ball downfield. I don't think you can say that about the 49ers. Monty says, Jimmy can't throw that far for Danny Gray to be out there. Now, he did throw deep to Danny Gray in the Seattle game. He did throw deep, but they didn't connect. I would, if I had to guess how, it was maybe been 30 to 40 yards down the field, maybe. So Jimmy can throw that far, but I could go outside and throw the ball far. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to connect, and Jimmy can throw it far, but I think one reason why is because of the defense. You don't need those big plays, and that's not what Jimmy's big plays is to throw it to Debo, and he breaks a bunch of tackles for 40, 50 yards and goes, and scores a touchdown. That's the big play. Or he will throw over the middle. He will throw over the middle, maybe 15 to 20 yards down the field. We've seen Kittle. I think the first game, Ayuk, that he was in. But it just sucks because you have this speed demon on the field. You can't even use him, and Shanahan just has to get him more involved. Tommy says, where's Rudy? Still hiding. Oh, yeah, the Ramilia Sports Report. They got a good game today against them good old Dallas Cowboys in L.A. So that's going to be an interesting game because the Rams, their offensive line is having trouble blocking, and Cowboys got Micah Parsons. They got DeMarcus Lawrence. They can definitely get after the quarterback. It sucks. I don't want to root for the Cowboys, but I can't root for the Rams either. So, yeah, I'm hoping the Rams lose, though. That's for sure. Hey, like Tommy said, hey, man, I got to take the Cowboys. I got to take the Cowboys to win. It hurts me to say that, but I don't want the Rams to win. Can't have that. Damian Lee says, if Dallas beats the Rams, Rudy will never come out. Damian Lee says, I hate Dallas, so I'm rooting for the – you're rooting for the Rams? How you going to root for the Rams? They're in our division. Come on, man. Your hatred of Dallas can't be that much, right? I mean, come on, Damian. Come on, man. Come on, DL. Yeah, there's no way I could ever root for the Rams. No way. Let's see. I think the game plan for this 49ers defense is make Baker Mayfield beat you. I think that's going to be the 49ers game plan. They will blitz. As someone said in the comments earlier, they're definitely going to blitz Baker, make him feel uncomfortable. Now, Baker is mobile, so that is something to watch. He can be mobile in the pocket. He can get out in space and create more time for his receivers to separate. So that is something to watch. The defensive line will have to keep contained, that's for sure. But we got to slow down McCaffrey first, make this Panthers offense one-dimensional. And if we do that, then it's all up to Baker. And Baker's only completing 54% of his passes. So I think that is a recipe for success for this 49ers defense. Make their offense, the Panthers offense, one-dimensional. And I think if they do that, it should be a fairly easy game. And I could think like that. I'm a fan, short for fanatic. I could think like that. For the 49ers, they have to come at it as, hey, those guys on the other side get paid too. And we got to come at this game. Same intensity we played versus the Rams, we need to play versus the Panthers. That's what it's going to come down to. Okay. We will continue to go through the comments. Feel free, if you guys are ready for some 49er football, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to Jay in the Bay. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Let's see. I think I had one more question for you guys. Yeah, one more question. Let me get that up on the ticker. And let's see. So my question for the faithful, the Niner Empire. Will the 49ers defense allow an offensive touchdown in today's game? I say no. I don't think this 49ers defense will allow an offensive touchdown. And let's see. We did allow one touchdown against Denver, and against the Rams, they were shut out. They did not score an offensive touchdown. They had a few field goals, but I think that trend will continue this week against them good old Carolina Panthers. The Panthers will not score an offensive touchdown in today's game. Feel free to let me know how you guys feel in them comments. And just to recap, Jimmy Ward, for those that don't know, Jimmy Ward will be active for today's game. I anticipate he will split reps at that free safety position with Tayshaun Gibson, who has played well. I think he has helped elevate this defense. Definitely has not. We know this defense has been historic the first 4 games, and I think Tayshaun Gibson has helped in this defense being so good. So I think we'll see Tayshaun Gibson. We'll see Jimmy Ward, split time. Could be 50-50, could be 60-40. Tayshaun Gibson taking more of the carries. But I think it's smart for the 49ers to ease Jimmy Ward back into the fold. And I think that could only help, this defense. It'll only help this defense get even better. Let's see. Looks like Tommy agrees with Damien's statement. He says, Damien, that makes – no, sorry. He says, Damien, that makes no sense. So Tommy does not agree. And Damien explains, we can beat the Rams. I have hatred for Dallas. I've hated Dallas for 40 years. Wow. I can tell by the hate in that message. I can tell. Tommy Huxley says, but you still my guy regardless. Let's see. Monty Williams says, yes, they will give up one touchdown. Okay. What does everyone else feel in the chat? Monty feels like they will give up one touchdown in today's game. I don't think they will. And let me go ahead and give my prediction for the game. So my prediction for this game, the 49ers are clearly the more talented team. We have more to lose. Definitely don't want to go down 2-3 to the Panthers. Now, this is a road game, obviously, for the 49ers. it's a good thing. Usually when the Niners play on the East Coast, we play at 10 a.m. like we did week 1 against the Chicago Bears. And today we're playing at 1:05. I think that definitely helps with the 49ers and their body clock. They're used to playing in help. But I like the Niners getting multiple sacks in this game. I think Baker Mayfield will be running all over the place. I think Nick Bosa always loves to play against Baker Mayfield. We know their rivalry goes back to their college days. And I think he's going to play solid. I think he could throw an interception. I don't think it'll hurt us as far as losing the game, but I won't be surprised if Jimmy throws an interception. But as long as Jimmy gets the ball into the playmaker's hands, we're going to be fine. I think this defense will continue to be excellent. And I think, especially in the first half, I think what's going to be key, though, for the Niners is just take advantage of those early opportunities on offense in the first half. When the defense is playing lights out, when the defense is getting, multiple 3-and-outs, this Niners offense needs to score. This Niners offense needs to score touchdowns and put them away early. And there's no reason why they shouldn't put them away early. And I know Mitch Wishnowsky, he got the special teams player of the month in the NFC, which is great. That not only helps the special teams unit look good, but it also helps the defense. That means if he's able to punt a ball inside the 10-yard line, that means that offense has to travel down the field 80, 90 yards just to get into the red zone. So I think that's also a small part of what's helping this defense, be as great as they've been, partly because of Mitch Wishnowsky. I know that won't get talked about a lot, but I think that's part of it. But I think the 49ers going to beat the brakes off these good old Carolina Panthers. I got the Niners winning 31-0. That's my prediction. What say you? What's your prediction? And will the 49ers allow an offensive touchdown in today's game? Tommy Huxley says, yeah, I think they do too, Monty. And as far as he thinks they will score one offensive touchdown. I think Baker wants revenge, so they will do trick plays. Interesting. Yeah, I think they'll pull out all the stops against the Niners. They really don't have much to lose. They are at home, so they will come out with passion for sure. But the Niners should be able to take care of business, man. No questions asked. Damian Lee, that's funny. Monty Williams says Bosa is going to have a Baker feast today. I completely agree, man. I completely agree. I think one matchup for sure that the Niners are going to have to watch out for is the offensive line. Can they provide a clean pocket for Jimmy G to throw from? We saw Jimmy G versus the Broncos. He wasn't in a clean pocket. It was one of his worst games I've ever seen him play. We saw Jimmy G throw from a complete pocket against the Rams, and he played significantly better. So Jalen Moore on that left side versus Brian Burns, that's going to be a matchup to watch out for. That's for sure. Anyone else on the Panthers defense, not really concerned about. They're missing 2 safeties. They're missing their leading tackler. And this 49ers interior offensive line, I'm talking about the 3 Bs, talking about Banks, Brindle, and Burford. They've been playing pretty well. I think Banks has probably been playing the best. Brindle's probably been playing the worst. And then Burford's kind of been like in between the two. And we will see Daniel Brunskill in at right guard, I'm sure. The 49ers are slowly acclimating Daniel Brunskill into the offensive line. I think that's good. He can play any position along the offensive line. He had the hamstring injury that it seemed like he missed the first 3 games of the season, and he missed part of the preseason as well. So it's good to see Brunskill back out there. But I like what I'm seeing from the interior of the offensive line. It's going to take them time to gel, but hey, they're improving every week. I don't know if Jake Brindle is the long-term solution at that center spot. I doubt it, but I think Banks has been pretty good so far at that left guard spot. And, it takes time for guys to develop. We just have to be patient and give those guys time to develop. And hopefully we see Kittle. Get some more targets. And I think, man, that would be dope. Tommy Huxley, wow, Jay, that's bold. Absolutely. You heard it here first, 31-0. I think the Niners going to beat them good old Carolina Panthers. huge shout out to everyone who was in the chat today. I appreciate everyone who contributed to the stream. Huge shout out to you guys and girls. Huge shout out if you're watching on intheBay Facebook. If you are watching on intheBay Facebook, feel free to look me up on YouTube. Type in J space intheBay. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and you can join the chat as well. I know people leave comments on the Facebook. For some reason, those comments don't translate over to my YouTube, so I can't see them. So, hey, if you want to be a part of the conversation, feel free to join us on YouTube. You can subscribe, you can like, you can leave comments. I will also have a post-game show tonight. I think I set it for 5:30 tonight, and it will be a call-in show. Feel free to call in. Today, win, lose, or draw, we will talk about our Niners against the Carolina Panthers and what we thought about the game. So make sure you come back tonight, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the intheBay YouTube channel. Will be a call-in show, and we're talking 49ers and Panthers. So I will see you guys later tonight. Thanks for joining me in the stream. And hey, man, go Niners. And I think we'll take care of business. Tommy says, Jay, this has to be a statement game. I think we made our statement against the Rams. We proved that we could rise to the occasion and play with some of the better teams. And granted, the Rams, they didn't play their best game. But I think in December, they're going to be a team vying for the playoffs. That's for sure. I think we just need to come here, take care of business, and show that we're the better team first snap. That's what we need to do. Kenneth Clay, what's good? Kenneth Clay says 49ers year to take it all the way to the Super Bowl. Hey, I'm all for that, man. All for that. But we'll see what comes to fruition. Jerome Davis, what's good? Jerome Davis says, my Hennessy tells me Jimmy 300 plus is my drink. Too strong. Interesting. Okay. Before you guys head out, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe. I'll see you guys later on tonight in the post-game show. Feel free to call in. Go Niners. 31-0. You heard it here first.